To our top story now, and the royal family has been left exposed at the top as it's revealed 4 senior royals are set to be out of action. While Prince William cares for his wife Kate Middleton, who's recovering from abdominal surgery, and Camilla supports King Charles as he prepares for his prostate operation, the public face of the family now lies in the hands of Princess Anne and Prince Edward.
And while it is true that King Charles has always wanted a slimmed-down monarchy, these recent events have thrown the lack of top royals into sharp focus. With us now in the studio is TalkTV's royal editor, Sarah Hewson. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. First of all, before we get to this issue of the slimmed-down monarchy, because when Charles was making those plans, I think Harry and Andy were still available to him, so we know what happened there. But I think before we get to that, we must pay tribute to the King, because while Kate, I think, the Princess of Wales had no choice but to reveal something was wrong because we won't see her until Easter, the King could have kept this secret because all it will involve, enlarged prostate, a night in hospital, there's nothing serious about it, but he went public with it in order to encourage men to get checked. So here's to him.
Yeah, look, there's a couple of things in that. One, it's very unusual for us to actually get specifics of royal medical conditions and treatment. And he personally made that decision that he would reveal what he was suffering from, a benign enlarged prostate, and that he was seeking treatment next week in the hope that it would encourage other men to A, talk about it, and B, seek medical advice if and when they need it, because, as he said, it is a very, very common condition to affect men of his age. He also got ahead...
80% of men in their mid-70s get enlarged prostate.
Yeah, I mean, it really is very, very common indeed. But also we got ahead of the news. Now, had this come out, and invariably it would have come out because he was having to cancel engagements. He was due to be hosting an event at Dumfries House today, engagements tomorrow as well. He was having to cancel those because of his symptoms. There would have started to be speculation about why. And we know that in that information void, that's when the panic starts to set in. And what he's actually done is say, everything's fine, I've just got to go in for a routine procedure. Lots of you will have had the same. I'm going to be out of action for a very short period of time and then I'll be back.
So people shouldn't be worried that we're going to have to call up Anne or Edward, because essentially Charles will be back on his feet within days.
And actually Buckingham Palace saying that's not even going to be the case. He's really not going to be removing himself from royal duties. Yes, we won't see him in public for a few days, but he's still able to carry out his constitutional duties. So that's mean giving royal assent to any government bills, for example. That will carry on. They don't think there's a need to call on the councillors of state. Those are the royals who would step in should the monarch become ill and should there be some constitutional duties to carry out. They're saying we don't need that. But you do make a very valid point that it does make us look at this slimmed down monarchy, which hasn't happened because they've done it deliberately. It's happened because Harry's left, the Duke of York has been kicked out of official duties, we've lost the Queen, lost the Duke of Edinburgh, and so they are naturally
And just for
smaller.
people who don't fully understand the Council of State,
Yes.
it's not just, it wouldn't have been a case of Charles is out, so now William steps in. There's got to be 2 of them together.
There's got to be
Isn't
2
Prince
of them.
Andrew one of them?
Yes, so typically, traditionally, you'd have 4
may be trouble
councillors
ahead.
of state. Yeah, it would be the 4 first in the line of succession. So William, Harry, Andrew and Beatrice are the 4. They've added Princess Anne and Prince Edward onto that list, so bolstered that list. That happened back in 2022 because obviously Harry's in California, Andrew's no longer a working royal. It'd be pretty difficult to call on them, but they do have to act in a pair in order to carry out government business. We saw it when the Queen couldn't attend the state opening of Parliament in the latter days of her reign. It was Prince Charles and Prince William at the time that carried out that duty.
I mean, it's certainly not an existential problem, but they will miss Kate. They will miss the Princess of Wales because they're the glamour pair, aren't they? William and Kate, you know, the heirs to the throne. Everybody loves them. They make a great picture in the newspapers. And her being out of action until Easter, and by extension, William will, I gather, perform some duties, but obviously most of his work, he'll be looking after the kids and visiting Kate and looking after her, of course. So those 2 out of action, that isn't good news for the royals.
No, it's not. And actually, William's been visiting Kate today.
Yes,
he was pictured driving himself away from the London clinic. But you're right, the 2 younger members of the working party of royals, if you like. It would have been a really busy... Next month is Mental Health Awareness Week. There would have been a lot of engagements around that. They were due to be going to Rome for a significant visit. All of those things have had to be put on hold.
Which makes me question then, would they say Kate's operation had been planned, but then why would they have planned and agreed to all of these events that were coming up and then had to pull out of them?
Well, the Royal Diary is put in place many months in advance. When they talk about a planned operation, I think we mean not an emergency operation.
Right.
So for how long it has been planned, we don't know. It might have been only planned for days or a week or so. And that is why those engagements that they were hoping would be carried out can no longer be so. They're having to reschedule.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, the vast majority of surgeries are pre-planned, they're elective. So I think this was a case in stance there. But let me just a quick last question, Sarah, you'll know about this. I thought, you know, yesterday was unprecedented. These two major announcements about what might be considered very private affairs. You know, there's nothing more private than your medical conditions. The fact that in a single day, the Buckingham Palace issued these two very transparent statements, you know, an act of great transparency, I think may herald. I've never seen anything like this before. I've been around a few years, as you know. May herald the dawn of a new age of better relations between Buckingham Palace, the royals, and the media.
You'll remember the furore when it emerged that the late Queen had been admitted overnight into hospital for tests and it hadn't been briefed. And that led to a lot of concern, panic, really. And I think they've learnt a lesson from that it is better to be upfront and get this out there. And of course, in the Princess of Wales's case, she's going to be out of action for a long period of time. That doesn't go unnoticed.
Yes, exactly.
They've managed to strike a balance between maintaining her privacy on medical matters while also putting as much information out there as she's happy to, that she's going to be in hospital for up to 2 weeks, she's going to be out of action for 2 to 3 months, that the Prince of Wales is going to be by her side. We're told today that she's doing well, as well as can be expected, really, I guess, when you've had pretty major surgery. We've also heard from the Queen today that the King is fine and that he's looking forward to get back to his royal duties, and I think that'll be as soon as possible.
Whenever you say the Queen, I still just...
Yeah, I just thought that.
Yeah,
I was going to say, but she's not with us anymore.
Yeah.
Queen Camilla.
Technically Queen Consort, isn't it?
No.
Oh, is it not?
Yes.
Oh, he's got his way, is he, old Charlie? Okay.
I'm not using this as an opportunity to bash the royal family. I'm really not.
I don't think that's the appropriate time.
I do love King Charles. However, is there not something a little strange that they're willing to share information about their medical situations for both Kate and Charles, but we still have no statement from the royal family about Prince Andrew? The public are not fans of Prince Andrew. The public have made that very clear. He is still living in a mansion. What, 31 bedrooms? No statement from the royal family ever about that.
Yeah. Can you clear this? I'm so sick of seeing this story come round and round and round like a merry-go-round. Will the king kick? The king is poised to kick Andy out of his royal lodge. I mean, what's the story there?
Robert Hardman, the royal author who's had pretty unique access, he wrote the documentary that went out over Christmas about the coronation. He's got a new book out today. He addresses this in his book. I'm going to be speaking to him on Talk Today at breakfast tomorrow morning.
Great.
He says that it was thought Andrew had a lot of protection when his mother was still alive, and it would change when Charles became king and that he would be kicked out. He describes it actually as being a practicality matter and a financial matter. Royal Lodge is outside the security cordon. Charles doesn't want to be funding that security because it has to have additional security. Okay. And he said Andrew can do it if he doesn't want to. It wasn't about kicking him out to teach him a lesson, and that actually he's keeping him in the fold in terms of the family. He promised his mother he wouldn't abandon him. But there's a very fine line. There's a difference, isn't there, between public duties and the private family moments.
Just a quick last word about Andrew. We hear that he's despondent, that he's in despair.
Somebody described him as being virtually incoherent.
Yeah, locked himself away in his room full of his teddy bears or something. But to be more serious, what is the future for Andrew? I mean, he's got to find some sort of mission, some sort of role.
What sort of role? I mean, it was talked about, would he be doing charitable work? But really, you know, he is tainted and tarnished by his associations with Jeffrey Epstein. So which organisations really want to be associated with the Duke of York? It is very difficult to know. You know, how do you solve a problem like Prince Andrew? I don't know.